Hello, welcome to SV Union High School and Junior College. Today we are going to discuss about the file system. File system in operating system. What is the role of the file system and how to handle that file system by the operating system. Now we'll see in detail. File system. The file system allows the user to define files and directories and allocate and deallocate the disk space to each file. The main role of the file system is over here, that is to allocate the space and deallocate the space whatever the coming files and the directories are here. It uses various data structure to achieve this. For information storage, operating system uses files. Now, the file system is a system, but actually it is handled by the operating system. To store the data or the information, it is done by the operating system, and to store this information, operating system uses the file. That information is stored on the file. Files are mapped by the operating system on to the physical devices. Means what happens is, now here we are storing the information in the form of the files. So what is the file? File is the related information. Related information means what? Now we can say the word file, Excel file, then paint file, then the C++ program file, C file. Means by the extension we can know that which type of the file that it is. Okay. When we consider the word file, then it consists of data of the word. It is a combination of the characters and the number. When we consider the Excel, then it is related to any calculation. Means that particular file is collection of the related data. And these files are mapped by the operating system onto the physical devices. Means what? That particular files in which we store the data, that files are actually resides or actually stored on the physical devices like the hard disk, and it is done by the operating system. A file is a collection of related information. As I told, it is a collection of the related information. It can contain programs or data. Data may be numeric, alphabetic or alphanumeric. That is numeric numbers or characters or combination of the numbers or data. File is a sequence of bits, bytes, lines or record. Each file has having name and extension. So what is it file? It is a sequence of the bits or bytes or lines or record. Means to store the character, it requires the bits. To store the word, it is a combination of the bits, that is the bytes. Then it is a one line, it is a combination of the word, and one record, it is the combination of the collection of the lines. So it is a sequence of bits, bytes, lines or records. Each file is having the name and the extension. So to access that particular file afterwards in the future, we can it done by using the file name, and by the extension we can know that each whatever what is that exactly type of the file. Doc, that we can know that it is a word file. .axl, Excel file. .ppt, PowerPoint file. .cpp, C++ programming file, etc. So this is the introduction or what is the file system actually. Now next important concept, that is the block. Okay, now disks are divided into the blocks. So whatever the disk is there in a computer, for example hard disk, that hard disk is divided into the block. A block is the smallest readable or writable unit which can be addressed. Okay, so it is a very small part in which we can read the data, from which or we can write the data. So readable or writable unit which can be addressed. The size of these blocks will be varies. Okay, so whatever the blocks are there, that should not, it is compulsory that of same size. The size should be different. It is a unit of data which the operating system defines for the sake of convenience. It is the unit of data, means one block data, two block data, we can say that. So it is a unit of, it is used to unit that particular data which operating system defines. Normally operating system also keep all its data structure in terms of blocks. So whatever the data structure is there, what is the data structure? Different data structures are there. By using this data structure, we can store the data, and that also that operating system keep all its data structure in terms of the block. Each block is having one or more sectors. Now see in a diagram, block storage is there, and these are the square that this is divided in a particular blocks. So this is the unit of data. Now we discuss about the disk. Okay, so when the concept of the storage of the data, then in one thing in cover comes our mind, that is the hard disk, where we can store the data permanently. So disk, it is a main secondary device. We know that there are the two types of the devices, that is it is secondary and the primary. So under the secondary, hard disk comes, and primary, RAM or RAM. Various types of secondary devices are there, like floppy disk and the hard disk. Hard disk can be considered as being made up of multiple floppy disks put one above the other. Okay, so there are mainly, we know that floppy disk is there and the hard disk is there. But what is the floppy disk? Floppy disk is the disk in which we can store the data and carry the data from one place to the another. But hard disk is also used to carry the data, but hard disk is fitted in a computer, whereas like the pen drive, we can carry the data from one place to another. Hard disk consists of the many floppy disks which can be put one above the another. We'll see in detail afterward. Now we see the floppy disk. So what is a floppy disk? Floppy disk is made up of round piece of plastic material coated with a magnetized recording material. So it is a disk as it is a round in shape. It is a plastic material coated with a magnetized recording material. So there we can store the data, means the data is recorded on that, and it is the magnetized. The surface of floppy disk is made up of concentric circle called as track. Okay, that disk is divided in concentric circles. That circles are called as a track. Disk can be considered to be consisting of several surfaces, each of which consisting of track. So that particular disk having the several surfaces, one above the other, and each of which consisting of the tracks. So every surface is divided in the concentric circle, and it is called as a track. The tracks are normally numbered from as the outermost track with the number increasing inwards. So that track can be counted from outer to the inward. Suppose outer track is a one number, then 2, then 3, then whatever the last is there, that should be 10, 15, etc. So that is increasing from outward to the inward. Each track is divided into a number of sectors of equal size. Now see, that particular track is divided into the number of sector, and that should be equal size. Sector capacity may be varying. That size is equal, but capacity may vary. Some sector store the little data, some sector store the large data. But typically a sector can store up to 512 bytes data. Maximum it can store the data up to the 512. So see in a diagram, there is the concentric circle are there. Then these are called as a track, and these tracks are divided into the sector. Okay, now see the floppy disk having the read write region. This read write region is nothing but when the disk come under this read write region, you can read the data or write the data. Then there is a spindle hole is there. Okay, means what? There is a one spindle and on which the disk is moving. Then unlock and then lock. There is a security tags. When you want to lock, then you cannot read or write. When unlock, then you can read or write on that disk. So this is about the introduction of the floppy disk. Now we'll discuss about hard disk. Now hard disk. Okay, so what is the hard disk? When we consider the hard disk, in our mind comes that you can store the data permanently. When you save data or install programs on your computer, the information is typically written to your hard disk. Okay, so whatever the software you install, when you save the data, it comes to your hard disk. The hard disk is a spindle of magnetic disk called platters that record and store the information. Okay, so that consists of the magnetic disk where the data or the information is stored, and it is the magnetic. As it is a magnetic, so that the data is permanently saved. Because the data is stored magnetically, information recorded to the hard disk remains intact after you turn your computer off. As it is returned magnetically, So afterwards also when you switch off computer or after some time you open that, closing and opening, after opening also the data is saved because it is written magnetically. This is an important distinction between the hard disk and the RAM. Okay, in a RAM, when the current goes, that time the information whatever you are writing, it should be gone, goes. But on a hard disk, it is stay as it is because it is stored magnetically. RAM or memory, which is reset when the computer's power is turned off. The hard disk is housed inside the hard drive. Okay, then one more concept, that is the hard drive, in which the hard disk is kept, which reads and writes data to the disk. So who does that particular operation, reading and writing? It is done by the hard drive. The hard drive also transmits data back and forth between the CPU and the disk. Okay, so when you are performing particular operation, that time the data is asked by the CPU. Okay, and it is from disk it is come, so that transmit the data in between these two, it is done by the hard drive. When you save data on your hard disk, the hard drive has to write thousands if not millions of ones and zero to the hard disk. Okay, now we know that the language of computer is nothing but it is a machine language and it consists of the binary number. That is the only two symbol it consists of, that is the 1 and 0. And when you are writing anything on this by using the binary, then it consists of the combination of the 1 and 0. So to write this information, it has to write millions of ones and 0. For example, to write the 0, we have to write the 4 times 0. Okay, so whatever the information is there you are writing on a hard drive, then it consists of the millions of the combination of the 1 and 0. It is an amazing process to think about, but may also be a good incentive to keep backup of your data. Okay, so you can back up your data. So this is about the introduction of hard disk. Now, hard disk surface is also made up of concentric circles called track. Okay, again same disk is divided, concentric circle is called as a track, and each track is divided into sectors of equal size. Read-write head for each surface connected to arm. Okay, arm can move in or out to position itself on any track while disk rotate at constant speed. Now see in a diagram, the hard disk having the head, then platters, spindle, actuator axis and pivot screw, voice coil actuator, then power connector, head actuator arm, etc. Okay, so as I told, the read-write head for each surface connected to arm. That read-write head is head, or it is a that particular instrument through which you can read data from the disk or you can write the data to the disk. Arm can move in or out position. Okay, this position or movement of this arm takes place only in or out. But whatever the disk is there, that platters is there, that is continuously moving around the spindle. Okay, and when particular track or the sector comes under that read write head where you want to read the data from particular file, that file comes under the that read write head and you can read the data. If you want to write the data, when that disk is moving and that particular file comes under the read write head, that time you can write the data. Okay, so it continuously takes place because that disk is rotate at constant speed, and the disk is divided into particular tracks and tracks again divided into particular sectors. Okay, so you can store the data on particular track and particular sector. So this is the how the hard disk store the data or write or read the data from the hard disk. Now, next important concept, that is the block. Okay, now disks are divided into the blocks. So whatever the disk is there in a computer, for example hard disk, that hard disk is divided into the block. A block is the smallest readable or writable unit which can be addressed. Okay, so it is a very small part in which we can read the data from which or we can write the data. So readable or writable unit which can be addressed. The size of these blocks will be varies. Okay, so whatever the blocks are there, that should not, it is compulsory that of same size. the size should be different. It is a unit of data which the operating system defines for the sake of convenience. It is the unit of data, means one block data, two block data, we can say that. So it is a unit of, it is used to unit that particular data which operating system defines. Normally, operating system also keep all its data structure in terms of blocks. So whatever the data structure is there, what is the data structure? Different data structures are there. By using this data structure, we can store the data, and that also that operating system keep all its data structure in terms of the block. Each block is having one or more sectors. Now see in a diagram, block storage is there, and these are the square that this is divided in a particular blocks. So this is the unit of data. Now we'll see what is a file. A collection of related information is termed as a file. As I told, it is a collection of related information. So we store the information in the form of the file. File can either Word file, Excel file, then music file, or you can save the movie in a file. Okay, so everything is that it is a file. Because of whatever the extension having, we can differentiate that file from each other. MP4 file, MP3 file. Okay, for each file created by the operating system maintains a directory entry also called volume table of content. Okay, file operations. Then when what operations we can perform with the file. So these are as following. General file operations include create, read, write, rewind and delete a file. So we'll see first operation, create a file. For creating a file, first whether sufficient space is available for that file is checked. If it is available, entry for new file must be made in a directory. Okay, so to create the file, first we have to check that particular space is available or not. If it is available, then we create the file and we make an entry in a directory. Second operation, write to a file. For writing to file, there is command in which name of the file is given. Okay, so we have to give the name in which file you want to write the data. Then operating system search for that file in directory entry and write to it. Then third operation, reading a file. For reading also there is a system call in which file name is specified. Again we have to find the file, which file's data you want to read. Then operating system searches for required file in directory entry and you can read the data. Next, rewind a file. The directory search for appropriate entry and file is reset to the beginning of the file. So that to reset at the beginning of the file is done by using the rewind a file operation. And last one, delete a file. To delete a file, again directory entry is search, and if that file is found, it releases the memory space and that directory entry now become invalid. Okay. So what to do? Which file you want to delete, that file you have to search from the directory, and if it is found, then you have to delete. When you delete that file means what? Exactly, you have to release the memory space occupy that particular file, and from the directory entry that now becomes the invalid. So this is about the file and the file operation. So we have seen about the file system. Thank you.